My dear friend, if you are standing at the edge of despair today, if your heart is heavy and your hands feel tied, if the road ahead looks like a dead end and the walls are closing, and hear me now, God will handle your impossible situation. Not maybe, not hopefully, not eventually. He will. This is not a word of human encouragement. This is a divine declaration from the one who created heaven and earth, the one who has never failed and never will. What seems impossible for you is a whisper to him. What crushes you is light to him. What confuses you is clear to him. Before you even knew the problem, God had already written the solution. So many of us live with burdens too heavy to carry. We hide them behind smiles. We carry them into the night and wrestle with them in silence. We cry in secret and wonder if anyone notices our struggle. But I'm here to tell you today, God sees, God knows. And God is not pacing in worry. He is preparing in wisdom. You think it's impossible because you've run out of options. You've exhausted every door you could knock on, every connection, every plan. But God is not limited by your resources. He is not limited by your past, your mistakes, or your qualifications. God is not intimidated by the size of your mountain. He formed the mountain. God specializes in the impossible. That's His realm. That's where He reveals His power most clearly. If it were possible by your own strength, you wouldn't need God. But when you reach the end of your ability, that's where His glory begins. When you're out of moves, God steps in. When you're out of strength, God shows up. When everyone else walks away, God stands with you. Don't be deceived by what your eyes see God works. In silence, in mystery, in ways that don't make sense until the miracle is complete. You may be facing something right now that has shattered your hope. Maybe it's a diagnosis that broke your spirit. Maybe it's a relationship that left you bleeding on the inside. Maybe it's the burden of poverty or the pain of being betrayed. Maybe it's the weight of anxiety or the fear of what tomorrow holds. But I declare with boldness, God will handle it. God is not asking you to understand the situation. He is asking you to trust Him in it. He is not waiting for your qualifications. He is waiting for your surrender. So many people say, I've tried everything and nothing works. But have you given it to God fully? Not partially. Not with a backup plan. Not with conditions. Have you laid it on the altar of faith and walked away saying, God, I can't fix this, but I trust that you can? That's where peace lives. That's where transformation begins. That's where the hand of the Almighty moves. You see, God doesn't need favorable conditions to act. God doesn't check the economy before blessing you. He doesn't need the approval of people to lift you up. He doesn't wait for permission from your past to unlock your future. He speaks and it is done. He commands and nature obeys. He calls light out of darkness and it shines. He opens doors no man can shut, and He shuts doors no man can open. He parts seas for those who walk in faith, and He makes a way where there was no way. There's a power in calling on God in your lowest hour. There's a strength in kneeling when the world expects you to collapse. There's a miracle in the midnight moment when all seems lost, and yet you still believe. The pain you're in now may be part of the preparation, the delay may be divine, the silence may be sacred, but the breakthrough is on its way, not because of your strength, but because of God's mercy. There's no situation too dead for God to revive. There's no heart too broken for God to restore. There's no future too uncertain for God to secure. He has done it before. He will do it again. He rescued you when you didn't even know you needed saving. He protected you from battles you never even saw. He held back the storm until you could bear it. And if He brought you this far, He won't leave you now. Some of you are waiting for a sign, a miracle, a breakthrough, and you feel like it's too late. But I want to tell you, God is never late. He is never early. He is always on time. Not your time, His time. And when His time comes, it will be perfect. The doors will swing open. The chains will fall. The tears you cried in the dark will be turned into strength in the daylight. The pain that pressed you down will be the very foundation God uses to elevate you. He wastes nothing, not a moment, not a tear, not a heartbreak. It all works together for His purpose. I know it's hard to believe when you've been waiting for so long. I know the silence of God can feel like rejection. But let me remind you, God's silence is not absence. Sometimes His silence is preparation. Sometimes He's building your faith, developing your character, and removing what you don't need so He can bless you with what you do. Don't rush the process. Don't abort the mission. Don't surrender the promise. What is impossible with man is always possible with God. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. The very thing that others walked away from God is walking toward. The mess you're in, He is about to turn into a message. The pain you've carried, He's about to convert into purpose. The struggle that made you cry will be the same struggle that brings you closer to Him. He does not waste suffering. He transforms it. God sees every sleepless night. He hears every unspoken prayer. He catches every falling tear. And He is closer than you think. He is not a distant figure in the sky. He is near to the brokenhearted. He is strength for the weary. He is a refuge in the storm. He is your ever-present help in time of need. You don't have to shout to reach Him. He is already listening. You don't have to fight alone. He is already fighting for you. Faith is not pretending that things are easy. Faith is declaring that God is still in control when nothing makes sense. Faith is standing in the fire and knowing that the flames will not consume you because the one who walks with you is greater than the fire. It's holding on when there's no reason left to hold one except your belief that God is still God. And hear me well, God is not done with you. I don't care how far you've fallen, how deep the hole, how bad the situation. If there's breath in your lungs, God has more for you. If you're still standing, it's because He's not finished. You may have come through hell, but you came through. You may be bruised, but you're not broken. You may be tired, but you're still chosen. Don't measure your future by your present situation. Don't let the current struggle define your destiny. Don't look at what you lack, look at who you have. You have God. You have the author of life, the sustainer of hope, the mover of mountains, and He will handle what you can't. The enemy wants you to believe that it's over, that you've lost, that it's too late. But God is the one who writes the final chapter. And until God says it's over, it's not over. Until God says enough, the storm won't last. Until God speaks, the waters won't calm. But when He does, everything will shift. You may be walking through a situation right now that looks like it's going to crush you. But look deeper. What if this is not punishment, but positioning? What if this is not the end, but the setup for your next chapter? What if God is not breaking you, but reshaping you? Trust that God sees what you cannot. Trust that His hands are molding something beautiful even in the dust. Trust that even in the chaos, there is a divine order at work. And when the time is right, God will reveal it. When the time is right, He will deliver you. When the time is right, He will show you why the waiting was necessary, why the pain was purposeful, and why the door had to remain closed until He was ready to open it. Hold your head high even when the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Speak life over yourself even when your surroundings scream defeat. Declare victory even when all you see is loss. Because you are not walking alone. God walks with you. God fights for you. God shields you. And God will finish what He started in you. So take that impossible situation, hold it up before God, and let go. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to control every detail. All you have to do is believe. All you have to do is trust. All you have to do is stay the course. Because your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from the Lord. Your help comes not from the mountains, but from Not from people, not from systems, it comes from God. He is not finished with your story. He is only just beginning. The world may see a problem, but God sees a possibility. The world may say it's over, but God says, watch what I can do. The world may see defeat, but God is writing a victory. He will bring beauty out of your ashes. He will bring clarity out of confusion. He will bring strength out of struggle. And He will handle what you thought could never be handled. You may not see it yet, you may not feel it yet, but keep walking, keep believing, keep praying, keep hoping, keep declaring, because God is still working. And the very situation you thought was going to destroy you, God is about to use it to bless you. And when you begin to truly surrender that impossible situation to God, not halfway, not with one hand still holding on to your own logic, but fully and without reservation, you will begin to witness the unraveling of divine plans that were already in motion. God never sleeps. God never hesitates. God never forgets His servants. And in His infinite wisdom, He allows pressure not to punish, but to produce. Sometimes, what we call a delay is not denial, it is divine development. It is God shaping your endurance, refining your faith, and purging you of dependence on things that were never meant to carry you. Many times, God will strip away every false foundation so that you will see that He alone is your rock. He will allow you to feel the fragility of human plans so you can learn to depend on divine timing. He will let the noise of the world surround you just to show you that His voice still speaks peace in the storm. That's how God operates, not always through comfort, but always through purpose. Not always through ease, but always with precision. He does not waste your suffering. He uses it as a seed. And when God plants a seed, He waters it with purpose, covers it with silence, and waits for the right season to bring the harvest. There are moments when the sky over your life will grow dark, not because God has left you, but because He's preparing to reveal light in a way you've never seen. The darkness isn't always punishment. It's often preparation. When God hid you, it wasn't rejection, it was protection. When He shut that door, it wasn't failure, it was redirection. When He took that person away, it wasn't abandonment, it was alignment. You see, God sees the end from the beginning. While you weep in confusion, He's working in clarity. While you mourn what you lost, He's preparing what you'll gain. And God is not bound by your calendar. His miracles are not chained to your clock. You may feel behind, like others have passed you by, like life has forgotten you. But God does not forget. God delays only to deliver something greater than what you expected. And when He moves, it will not be small. It will not be ordinary. It will not be explainable. It will be undeniably Hima, results so precise, so timely, that no one can say it was luck or chance. That is the glory of God. You may have looked around and thought, everyone else is getting blessed but me. Everyone else is moving forward, and I'm still stuck in this same struggle. But let me declare this over your life. God is not ignoring you. He is preparing you. Sometimes the longer the preparation, the greater the assignment. Sometimes the deeper the valley, the higher the mountain He's taking you to. And that situation you've labeled as impossible, that's the very stage God will use to showcase His might. Don't let the temporary storm make you forget the eternal promise. Don't let the weight of the trial make you question the worth of the journey. God didn't bring you this far to leave you in the middle. What God starts, He finishes. And His finish is always full, always good, always right on time. Don't you give up now. Don't let the enemy convince you that this is the end. Don't let your emotions sabotage your faith. God is about to turn it around. But He's waiting for you to trust Him completely, not with words, but with your whole being. Let your tears water your prayers. Let your weariness be the fire that ignites your cry for help. Let your desperation become your declaration. God, I can't do this, but I know you can. That's not weakness, that's power. That's the kind of surrender that opens the heavens. That's the kind of faith that stirs the unseen and moves the hand of God. There's a reason why God allows you to face things that are too big for you, so you stop relying on your strength. God wants to prove that He is enough. Not your qualifications, not your connections, not your resources. Him, and Him alone. When you have nothing left but God, you will find that God is more than enough. He becomes your provider, your comforter, your defender, your waymaker. In the midnight hour, He is your peace. In the courtroom, He is your advocate. In the hospital room, He is your healer. In the silence, He is your assurance. So don't chase comfort, chase God. Don't chase outcomes, chase obedience, because when you walk with God, even when the terrain is rough, the destination is worth it. Even when the valley is dark, the presence of God makes it holy. The world may call you foolish for believing in what you can't see, but when the breakthrough comes, they'll have no choice but to acknowledge that something divine touched your life. And let this truth anchor your soul. God never loses control. Not in the chaos, not in your confusion, not in your crisis. Even when everything seems to fall apart, God is holding everything together. You may not understand the how. You may never know the why. But if you trust the who, you won't need to. You will walk by faith and not by sight. You will walk with confidence, not because the road is smooth, but because the one who walks with you is mighty. And you are not walking for no reason. You're not suffering without purpose. You are on a divine path, even if you don't recognize the scenery. That situation that looks impossible to you is the very ground where God is planting your next season of testimony. He's going to bring you through in such a way that others will look at your life and see God's fingerprints all over it. Not because you were strong, but because you were surrendered. Not because you had it figured out, but because you let God take over. And when He brings you out, and you won't just survive, you will thrive. You won't come out limping, you'll come out lifted. You won't come out bitter, you'll come out better. And the same mouths that spoke against you will witness your rising. The same hands that tried to block your blessing will watch it overflow, because no one can stop what God has ordained. No one can reverse what God has spoken. No one can silence what God has breathed life into. So right now, even in the midst of the storm, praise Him like the answer is already on the way. Thank Him like the burden is already lifting. Walk like the chains have already broken. Speak like the door is already opening. Because when God steps in, everything must shift. Mountains move, walls fall, enemies flee, and the impossible becomes your testimony. This is your moment of faith. This is your hour of surrender. Don't wait for everything to be perfect to trust God. Trust Him in the mess. Trust Him in the uncertainty. Trust Him in the silence. Trust Him when it hurts. Because the God who holds galaxies in place is also holding your situation in His hand, and He will not fail. Even now, angels are being dispatched, solutions are being formed, answers are aligning, help is on the way, not by might, not by power, but by God's Spirit, His decree, and His unstoppable will. Keep your heart pure. Keep your spirit humble. Keep your eyes on the Almighty. He's about to take that impossibility and turn it into undeniable proof of His greatness. And I say this with unshakable conviction. When you finally step back and stop trying to fix everything with your limited strength, that is the moment God steps in with His limitless power. You cannot carry what was meant for His shoulders. You cannot solve what was never in your hands to control. You weren't created to figure out every detail of your deliverance. You were created to trust the one who sees the end from the beginning and holds the keys to every door. When your situation surpasses reason, that's where faith rises. When the path is no longer visible, that's when you walk in trust, knowing that God is the one directing every unseen step. Too often we bind ourselves with fear, thinking the impossible is the end. But the impossible is not the end, it's the beginning of God's intervention. God waits until the noise dies down, until your plans crumble, until your pride surrenders, so that you will know it was never you, but always Him. That is where true peace lives. Not in understanding the storm, but in knowing the storm obeys God's voice. Not in avoiding the fire, but in knowing the fire cannot consume you, because God walks with you inside of it. Do not fear the delay. Do not resent the struggle. Some blessings take longer because they are built to last. And when God builds, He digs deep. He doesn't construct on shallow ground. He strengthens your roots before revealing your branches. What looks like a dry season is often the deep work of God establishing you, grounding you, removing what would collapse under the weight of the blessing to come. Sometimes He slows you down because the blessing is running ahead and needs time to mature. Sometimes He shields you from what you think you want because it would destroy what He knows you need. God's timing is not your timing, but His timing is always perfect. You don't need to know when, you just need to know who. You don't need to understand the details. You just need to rest in the certainty that God never makes mistakes. He allows the pressure to press out the weakness. He allows the silence to sharpen your ears for His whisper. He allows the waiting to deepen your dependence. Because when the blessing comes, and it will, you will not just thank Him for it, you will praise Him for the process that made you ready to receive it. And what about those moments when everything collapses? When the foundation cracks and the roof caves in? That's when most people run, panic, give up. But not you. Because you know what others don't. God is in the rubble too. He is not only the God of the mountaintop, He is the God of the broken places. He rebuilds, He restores, He revives. And when God rebuilds, He doesn't restore you to what you had. He restores you to more. More peace, more wisdom, more strength, more clarity. He breaks you to bless you. He uproots to replant. He allows the storm to wash away what could never hold you. You may not see it now, but you are walking into something greater. The tears you cry in secret are watering a harvest you haven't seen yet. The prayers you whisper in weakness are echoing in the halls of heaven. The burdens you carry in silence are being lifted in the hands of the Almighty. God does not ignore pain. He responds to it with power. He does not overlook faith. He honors it with favor. And when He decides to move on your behalf, it won't be subtle. It will be supernatural. The very thing that once mocked you will witness your rise. The very people who doubted you will see the glory of God unfold in your life. You are not stuck. You are stationed. You are not forgotten. You are being fortified. You are not abandoned. You are being appointed. God is setting you up not for survival, but for significance. He's preparing a tableau, just a meal, but a message, a testimony, a witness to the world that God alone is able, that He alone brings victory out of defeat, peace out of chaos, and beauty out of ashes. He turns the weeping into rejoicing, the burden into blessing, the silence into song. And when you look back on this season, on this so-called impossible situation, you will not remember the pain as much as you'll remember the presence of God that sustained you through it. You will say, if it had not been for God, I would have fallen. I would have given up. I would have broken apart. But you didn't, because God held you together. He covered you. He whispered strength into your bones. He gave you just enough to take one more step. And step by step, He brought you through. The power of God is not limited by logic. He does not need evidence to perform a miracle. He does not wait for validation to do the impossible. God speaks, and the universe aligns. God decrees, and nature obeys. When God says it is time, nothing can stop it, not the economy, not your past, not the opinions of others, not the laws of man. What God wills will be. And no force in hell or on earth can rewrite what God has already authored. So lift your head, even if you feel weak. Declare hope, even if your heart trembles. Speak victory, even if your surroundings scream defeat, because your power is not in your voice. It's in who stands behind it. And God is behind you. God is before you. God is around you. And God is within reach. Call on Him not as a last resort, but as your first line of defense. Seek Him, not because you're desperate for a quick fix, but because you know that only God can make the crooked path straight and the shattered heart whole. Let this truth penetrate your soul. God is not intimidated by the magnitude of your struggle. He is not overwhelmed by the chaos around you. He doesn't flinch when others fail you. He doesn't withdraw when the pressure builds. In fact, it is in those very moments when the weight of the world seems unbearable that God shows Himself strongest. Because when you are at your weakest, His strength shines brightest. Let others lean on their strategies. Let others trust in titles and connections and the opinions of men. But you, dear soul, stand firm in this. God is enough. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have the answers. You don't need to have a plan. You just need to believe that the same God who breathed life into you is still working behind the scenes, weaving together every broken thread of your life into a masterpiece. That door may not look like you expected. It may not be built the way you imagined. But when God opens it, no one can shut it. And when He closes a door, even if you don't understand why, it's because what's behind it would have delayed your destiny or destroyed your peace. God sees what you cannot. He sees the trap in the opportunity. He sees the burden behind the blessing. He sees the danger behind the desire. So when He redirects you, it's not rejection, it's protection. When He says not yet, it's not punishment, it's preparation. When He says no, it's because something greater is on the way. The journey of faith is not always paved with ease. It is not always smooth, but it is always purposeful. God does not take you through valleys to leave you there. He takes you through to teach you, to grow you, and to reveal Himself in ways that can only be seen when your hands are empty and your heart is desperate. When there is nothing left but your faith in God, that is when you become truly rich. That is when you learn to walk not by sight, not by approval, not by comfort, but by the fire of trust burning deep in your soul. Do not underestimate the value of the valley. It is in the valley where roots grow deep. It is in the hidden places where God does His deepest work. You are not being buried, you are being planted. You are not being forgotten, you are being formed. The soil may be dark, the process may be slow, but God does not rush growth. He does not create weak foundations. What He is building in you cannot be shaken. It may take longer than you planned, but it will stand longer than you dreamed. And yes, people may walk away, they may mock your faith, they may not understand why you still pray, why you still hope, why you still believe when nothing seems to be changing. But don't you dare be discouraged by those who only live by what they see. You are not walking by human sight, you are walking by divine revelation. God is not a myth. God is not a distant concept. God is the living, ever-present sustainer of all things. He is nearer than the breath in your lungs. He is closer than the thoughts in your mind. He is with you not only in your victories, but in your darkest most desperate hour. Let the world put its trust in man-made systems. Let others chase applause, validation, material gain. But you trust in the God who never fails, the God who does not bend to pressure, the God who is not swayed by popular opinion, the God who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. When everything else fades, He remains. When people disappoint you, He strengthens you. When life wounds you, He heals you. And when the world tells you it's over, God says, I am just beginning. So I ask you today, what are you holding on to that you need to release into God's hands? Is it fear? Is it control? Is it shame from your past? Is it the pain of unanswered questions? Let it go. Let it fall. Let it break if it must. Because whatever you place in God's hands becomes holy. Whatever you surrender to Him becomes His responsibility. And God never mismanages what belongs to Him. You may think your faith is too small, that your hope is too weak, but even the smallest seed, when placed in the soil of surrender, can grow into something unshakable when God is the one nurturing it. Faith is not about how strong you feel, it's about how much you trust the one who is truly strong. You don't have to carry the world, you just need to rest in the one who already does. And in your midnight hour, when no one answers the phone, when the silence screams louder than your thoughts, when sleep evades you and anxiety wraps itself around your chest, cry out to God. Not with perfect words, not with rehearsed prayers. Just cry out from the depths of your soul. He hears you, He honors you, He answers. Not always in the way you expect, but always in the way you need. God doesn't just bring you out, He brings you out changed. He doesn't just remove the burden, He teaches you how to walk lighter. He doesn't just end the storm, He teaches you how to find peace in the storm. Because real strength is not in escaping struggle. It is in walking through it while trusting that God is still working when you can't see the work being done. Let your faith be louder than your fear. Let your surrender be stronger than your worry. Let your praise rise above your problem. Because when you magnify God above your situation begins to shrink. When you shift your focus from the impossibility of the moment to the capability of the Creator, everything changes, not always on the outside, but something begins to rise inside of you. You are not a victim of your circumstances, you are a vessel of God's power. You are not defined by what you've lost, you are defined by what you carry. Endurance, strength, unshakable faith. You are not alone in this battle. God goes before you, stands beside you, and surrounds you. You don't need to fear the future because God holds it. You don't need to dread the unknown because nothing is unknown to God. And listen closely, the very area of your life where you feel the weakest is often the very place where God wants to show His strength. The very scar you hide is the very place God wants to place His glory. The very failure you regret is the place He will use to birth your testimony. What you consider your greatest embarrassment, God may use as your greatest empowerment. He does not call the flawless. He calls the willing. He does not require perfection. He responds to surrender. And He does not judge you by where you are right now. He sees where He's taking you. And He is not finished with you. Not even close. That impossible situation may be the very place where your greatest miracle will take place. Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Don't curse it. Instead, declare over it, God will handle this. And walk forward with peace because He absolutely will. So rise up not in your own strength, but in the strength that flows from trusting in the one who reigns over all. The strength that comes not from control, but from surrender. The strength that comes when you finally stop striving and start resting in the truth that God is in charge. You were never meant to carry what God has already claimed. You were never asked to fix what only God can heal. You were never expected to understand every twist and turn, only to walk with faith that the path was drawn by His hand and His hand does not tremble. There is no chaos too deep for God to calm. There is no fire too hot for God to walk you through. There is no prison so tight that God cannot break the chains. He is the opener of what man calls shut. He is the lifter of heads when shame weighs them down. He is the restorer of hope when the heart has gone numb. And when you think all is lost, when your resources are gone, your strength is dried up, and your soul is weary, God speaks one word, and suddenly what looked dead begins to live again. You see, God doesn't need the approval of people to bless you. He doesn't wait for a committee to validate your worth. He doesn't need the economy to be favorable or the circumstances to be ideal. God creates His own conditions. He brings rivers through deserts. He brings light into the darkest night. He brings breakthrough through walls that looked impenetrable. He specializes in writing victory on pages stained with loss. That's the power of God, quiet, sovereign, absolute. And some of you need to hear this truth today. Your tears have not gone unnoticed. Every cry, every prayer, every sigh you released in the stillness of night has risen to the heavens. And God is not passive. He does not ignore those who cry out to Him with sincerity. He is not unmoved by pain, nor deaf to the groans of a heart weighed down. He answers, but not always in the way you imagine. Sometimes His answer is not relief, but revelation. Sometimes He doesn't remove the storm. He strengthens you to walk through it and not break. And when you come through it, because you will, you'll find that God was not far off, but closer than ever. Stop measuring your future by your failures. Stop looking at your reflection through the mirror of disappointment. You are not what happened to you. You are not what you lost. You are not defined by the doors that closed, the friends who left, or the dreams that didn't come to pass. You are who God says you are, chosen, equipped, prepared, covered. And when God decides to bless you, no betrayal can block it, no delay can deny it, no voice can cancel it. When He declares it, it is done. Some of the greatest breakthroughs are disguised as breakdowns. Some of the greatest blessings come through battles. Some of the most powerful transformations begin with what feels like total destruction. Why? Because God sometimes has to tear down what was built without Him in order to raise up something that will glorify only Him. And when God builds, He builds with eternal purpose. What He builds lasts. What He touches transforms. What He blesses multiplies. So if it feels like your life is in pieces, don't despair. God is still the potter, and the potter does not throw away the clay. He does not discard what's been marred. He reshapes. He reworks. He remolds. And when He's done, it will be more beautiful, more meaningful, more enduring than you ever imagined. But you must trust the process. You must submit to His timing. You must let Him be God, not just in theory, not just in worship, but in reality, in your decisions, in your emotions, in your plans, in your pain. Stop rehearsing the worst case scenarios. Stop reliving the disappointments. Stop magnifying the obstacle. Begin to magnify God. Speak His power aloud. Declare His ability even before you see the evidence. That's faith, not denying reality, but choosing to believe in a higher reality. That above the facts stands truth. And truth is, God reigns. Above the diagnosis, above the debt, above the betrayal, above the fear, God is greater. And when the time comes, God will lift you not by force, not by manipulation, but by divine appointment. When He exalts, no one can demote. When He promotes, no one can block it. Your name will be remembered not because of your connections, but because of His covenant. You will walk through doors you didn't knock on. You will receive answers you didn't even know how to pray for. You will be surrounded by peace that makes no logical sense. That's what happens when God handles your impossible situation. And make no mistake, what feels impossible to you is elementary to God. What overwhelms you is small in His hand. You are not alone in this. You are not forgotten. Your weakness does not disqualify you. It invites His strength. Your questions do not offend Him. They draw you closer to the truth. And your faith, no matter how small, moves the heavens when it is placed in God alone. So walk forward with courage, not because the way is easy, but because God is faithful. Face the uncertainty not with fear, but with firm belief that the one who holds the universe also holds your hand. Let your life become a living testimony that yes, it got hard. Yes, you almost gave up, but God stepped in. He made a way. He lifted the burden. He silenced the storm. He turned the impossible into the undeniable. And one day you will tell your story, not with sorrow, but with strength. Not with shame, but with glory. Because you will know deep in your spirit it wasn't luck, it wasn't timing, it wasn't coincidence, it was God, only God, always God, forever God. There comes a point in every soul's journey where words fail, strength fades, and reason breaks down under the weight of life's unanswered questions. But that is not where the story ends. That is where God begins. When the voices around you fall silent and the plans you carefully built fall apart like dry clay, God speaks into the wreckage and says, "Be still, I am here." That stillness is not weakness. That silence is not absence. That pause is not punishment. It is the sacred space where God breathes hope back into your dry bones. Every trial you've endured, every tear you've shed, every burden you've carried has been seen and measured by the hand of God. Nothing escapes His vision. Nothing overwhelms His wisdom. And no battle is too great for His intervention. You may have been pressed on every side, but you were not crushed. You may have been confused, but you were not abandoned. Because the one who formed you in secret has also appointed your victory in public, and when God declares it, no force on this earth can delay it. Let your heart rise with confidence today, not because the struggle is over, but because the struggle has a purpose, and the purpose is greater than your pain. It is rooted in God's eternal plan, a plan that does not bend to man's timeline or bow to your fears. You may not understand the current chapter, but God is the author, and He writes with destiny in mind. What appears broken now is part of a much bigger design that ends not in defeat, but in divine fulfillment. And yes, the nights may still be long, the waiting may still stretch your endurance, the answers may not come wrapped in the way you hoped. But understand this, God does not forget what He has promised. He does not grow weary. He does not second-guess His decisions. When He places His hand upon a situation, it is marked for transformation. And that impossible circumstance in your life is not a curse, it is the canvas where God is painting His power in bold, undeniable strokes. Do not confuse the silence of God with the absence of action. Often the greatest miracles are prepared in the unseen, in the quiet chambers of divine timing. God is moving where you cannot see. He is removing what you didn't know was hindering you. He is arranging people, places, and circumstances to align with His decree. And when the appointed hour comes, you will see what patience, faith, and obedience can birth. You will look back and realize that even your darkest days were held tightly in the grip of God's mercy. And for those who feel like they've missed it, that they've made too many mistakes, taken too many wrong turns, failed too many times, I speak this truth over you. God's mercy has no expiration date. His plan is not canceled because of your weakness. His power is not diminished by your delays. He does not give up on those He created. He waits. He calls. He restores. And when you return to Him, not with perfect answers, but with an open heart, He lifts you with grace that cannot be explained by human reason. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are right where you need to be to experience the mighty hand of God in your life. And if He allowed this trial, it is because He intends to use it. Nothing in God's hands is wasted. Not your pain, not your waiting, not even your silence. All of it becomes part of the testimony that will one day flow from your life like a river of living proof that God is faithful. So lift your eyes, straighten your back, steady your heart. What you are walking through may feel like fire, but it is not to destroy you, it is to refine you. And when you come out on the other side, you will not smell like the smoke. You will shine like gold. Not because of your strength, but because of the one who carried you through the flames. Let go of trying to control what only God can command. Lay down your anxiety at the feet of the one who controls the seasons. Hand over your fears to the keeper of time, the mover of hearts, the opener of doors. You will never win a battle trying to carry it alone. But when you hand it to God, the impossible becomes a stage for His greatness. And sooner than you think, you will look back on this moment with tears in your eyes, not of sorrow, but of gratitude. You'll say, that was the moment I learned what it truly means to trust in God. That was the hour your spirit stopped shaking. That was the chapter when faith became more than words, it became the power that brought you through the impossible. So here and now, with all the noise of the world screaming for your attention, with the fear pressing against your chest, with the uncertainty tightening its grip, choose faith. Not the kind that waits until the evidence appears, but the kind that believes God is already working, already moving, already making a way. And as you walk forward, not in fear, but in boldness, remind your soul daily, God will handle it. God is handling it. God has already handled it. From beginning to end, from struggle to solution, from pain to peace, God is in control. And that, my friend, is more than enough.